when you educate one person, you can change a life. But if you educate many, you can change the world.
Shai Reshef, the founder of University of the People, he created the first tuition-free, accredited online university. He has provided access to higher learning for over 153,000 students worldwide.
I read a UNESCO statement that in 2025, there will be 100 million students without universities to serve them. So I felt that it's my turn to give back. University of the People is for the people who have no other alternatives. We are tuition free. We have more refugees than any university in the world. We have 19,000 refugees. We have 4,300 Afghan women hiding at home, studying with us because they're not allowed to study under the Taliban rule. These are the people that we started a university for. The two hardest things for me is, first of all, to study.
How does somebody grow up and eventually change the world and change education in this level? So tell us a little bit about you as a younger kid. What was it like? Were you entrepreneurial? Did you like education? Like, who are you?
It's interesting because I grew up in a modest family, and I went to school. I was not the best school in class. I had other things that were more interesting than studying. I worked from very early age, kind of like, supplement the study that I did, the school with some work. But I think that after completing my bachelor degree, I went to Michigan to do my master level in Chinese politics in University of Michigan. And there I became exposed to, through studying China, on the importance of education. Because what happened in China is that Mao and the Communist Party tried to change the culture of a nation, largely by educating the kids. And I was fascinated by it.
Before that, why masters in Chinese politics? Like, what would get somebody to decide, I'm not from China, but I'm fascinated by that specific topic? What drew you to that?
I read about China, just, and I learned about what happened in the last few years, from being amazing empire, how it collapsed because it was not ready for the developed world, and was not ready to accept that they are inferior. And at the same time, the Communist Party came and said, well, we are going to change it. And they created a mass movement, took over China and said, we are going to create a different country and a different culture and different nation. And I was, really? How do you do that? And, we're not talking about a country of 100,000 or 1 million people, right? This is the biggest country in the world.
Yeah.
And I start following what's going on, and I was shocked. It took me to get into it to understand that it didn't really work all the way as they wanted. And when we look at China today, it's clear that it didn't work. But also I realized that no doubt that China will become the largest and the strongest power on earth, which we are experiencing happening.
We're seeing it.
And I said, okay, not a lot of people know China. And,
right.
I decided that I will be one of the few who really know.
Wow. Incredible. So right after that, instead of continuing in Chinese politics, you decide to go to education. So tell me a little bit about that path. Did people think you're crazy? Like, how did that go?
So, okay. So I studied Chinese politics, and through my PhD studies, I also realized that while I love China, I'm not academic. And I'm not going to be a professor, and I'm not going to spend my life doing research, which I highly appreciate, and I think it's
Right.
extremely important, except that I don't think it is me.
Right.
So I was, I learned about, through a friend, about a test prep company, SAT test prep company, and I became involved, and I became the CEO of the company, and it became an international company with tens of programs in education, with hundreds of thousands of students. And among other things, we learned about actually University of Phoenix and other universities who started offering online education, which was really new. And we decided that we are going to do the same outside of the US, and we were the first online university in Europe through partnership with the University of Liverpool. So we were the first university to have we were white labeling University of Liverpool, offering their online master degrees from Europe. We operated it from Amsterdam. And that's where I learned how powerful online learning can be.
Wow. And this is what year was that roughly?
2000, well, starting in 2000. Yeah.
Amazing. So right when everything is starting, you're already understanding the power of online, which is incredible because people were still trying to understand this internet thing. And you already understand that this can actually be huge for education. So you work with KIT, right, in Europe and kind of build that. How did people adapt to that? Was it weird for people? Did they trust it? How was it?
The growth was very, very small for two reasons. First of all, it was for profit at the time. University of the People is non-profit, but that was for profit, and it cost money, significant amount of money. In the US, people used to always paid for higher education, not in the amount that they pay right now, but they still paid for higher education. Outside of the US, people did not pay for higher education. So the concept of paying for higher education was new. Second, online was new. Look, even now, we're talking about over 20 years from that, still people say, online learning, is that good? Is that serious? Is it doable? Is it real? So and funny. Then people look at us like, what is it? So we had a hard time. We had a hard time with that company. It was successful. For me, the major thing that I got out of it is to learn that there is a tool to educate people wherever they are. So we had students, let's say from Singapore. They can, and we operated from Amsterdam, but they stayed home, kept their job, stayed with their family, and still get University of Liverpool online degrees. So it was an amazing tool, except that I also realized that most people cannot afford it. So,
So before we dive into University of the People, I still want to go for a second because you led Kidum to transforming it to one of the largest private education companies. What are some of these challenges that you faced? I mean, some of it is definitely, the money and the fact that it's cost. But what are some of the things that you faced when you grow an education company to this level? And how did you overcome some of these?
I think it was true then, and it is true now when University of the People experiencing exponential growth. You never know what's next, and you never know what parts of the chain are weak. So I think that I always spend my time trying to realize what is not going to work well. Kind of, what should we keep fixing? What might go wrong? And if it doesn't go wrong, we're lucky. If it goes wrong, you're ready for it. But I think that growing, it's everything from marketing to finance to operation to human resources to culture. It's everything. Yeah.
And I assume you've taken all of this obviously to University of the People. But let me take you for a second to that idea of I'm going to do something incredibly hard. let me just create the same thing, but for free. and accredited. And for a lot of people, like, tell me about that moment when you're deciding to do this, and how do people around you react to that? Because it does sound
Okay.
crazy, Shai. Let's be real.
So here it is. So I sold, KIT was a great company. We decided to sell it to Laureate, which is, their name was not Laureate at the time, it was Sylvan Learning. Then they changed their name. And I went to New York, semi-retired, but very fast I realized, I and my family realized that I'm not the
retired person.
Yeah, I'm too hyper. And I felt that I want to continue, but it was also clear to me that I don't want to do more of the same. I felt, I sold 2 businesses. I'm fortunate. I felt that it's my turn to give back. And for me to give back was, and that's my personality, I want to do it in a way that will have an impact on the world. And having impact on the world is obviously education. Because when you think about it, when you educate one person, you can change a life. But if you educate many, you can change the world. So I start looking around, and I wasn't sure how to do it and what exactly I want to do. But then through a friend, I met a company that wanted me to become involved. And I met them, 2 young kids, not that young, but in their early 20s, young. And I said, what do you do? And they said, we have a website, obviously in education, where students come every day with their homework online, and professors come online and offer them help to help them with their homework. And I said, and what do the professors do? They said, well, they get nothing. They get karma points, which worth nothing. It's just a prestige. I said, listen, I know the world and I know education and I understand a little bit psychology. If you help students with their homework, you're a tutor. If you're a tutor, why won't you take money? I said, well, you don't understand the internet. I said, okay, I'm willing to learn. And I came to their website and I realized that every time students come online, there are hundreds of professors who are willing to help them for free. What they get in return is karma points, which worth nothing. And I said, wait a second, by now, if you look at what makes higher education, you need content. But there was already open educational resources, which mean content that professors put online for free. There is open source technology, free technology. And if there are professors that are willing to teach for free, actually, this is what you need for a university. All I had to do is to put it together and create tuition-free university. So that's where the idea came from. Should I continue?
Yes. From that moment, still to pull the trigger and say, let me try to do this crazy thing that will only rely on donors and volunteers. And oh my God, Shai, yes. How did you get there?
So I said, okay, there is open source technology, open educational resources, and volunteers. I said, this is a university. All I have to do, as I said, is to put it together. So I went to a conference in Munich, and I announced that I'm going to start a tuition-free university. And the next day, and by the way, I should have said that when I was in KIT, I realized that the main problem is that there are so many people need education, but they can't afford it. And when I was thinking about creating University of the People, I realized I read a UNESCO statement on that year in 2009 that in 2025, right now, there will be 100 million students without universities to serve them. So I said, okay, I announced the university in Munich. The next day, the New York Times wrote a page about it. And the following day, I already had hundreds of emails from professors who said, wow, we want to help. And they built the
Wow.
university. So as easy as that. So yeah.
Yeah, right. So now we're gonna go into the details of the easier is that. So let's dive into that, Shai. So you're it's amazing that you got already, the press to see it, and that really helps. But and again, I can see why they would be drawn to something so beautiful. But tell us about the early days, because the early days still need capital to some extent. Even if a lot of people are volunteers, there's still operations and there's technology and there's like infrastructure and there's like marketing or travel. Like there's still things. So how do you
So,
start rolling this?
so a few things. First of all, we got, when I announced the University of the People, I knew what it takes to build a university because I had a university in Europe
Right.
and I knew what it takes, which was, a great plus because otherwise, what do you need in order to create a
Right.
university? Second, from the very beginning, I had amazing people who came to help, from our provost, who came from Columbia University, and the vice provost, from deans who came from NYU and Princeton.
Wow.
And those people taught me what I need in order to build a university, and they built it. So most of the manpower was volunteers, which saves
Right.
millions of dollars along the
Right.
years. We did need capital. I invested some money originally, but we worked extremely fast because the idea was we are not going to become a regular university. We are going to give the students what they need in order to succeed, do it in the most efficient way that it can be done, and the fastest way. So I announced the university on the 27th of January. By April, we start enrolling students. By September, we already started teaching. So, it was extremely fast. We built the courses while teaching. All were built by volunteers. And technology, we use open source technology. So it was very, very fast and efficient. And luckily, I had amazing people on my side who did it.
Incredible.
So, yeah.
Amazing, Shai. So first of all, I love how, they were drawn to the mission. And the mission is incredible. We're going to talk more about it. But tell us a little bit also about getting it accredited, because there's a different, like, I'm sure it came with some skepticism and, this is online. How can it be accredited? Like what challenges did you run into in the beginning in terms of that?
Well, the first time I met the accreditation agency, I felt like it's really easy because what they said, look, here are the standards. Just follow the standards and you can get accredited. Sure. Okay, sounds very easy. I remember going out, calling to my co-CEO at KIT and say, wow, you know how easy it is to get accredited? You're just following the standards. It was a long road. We received our initial accreditation in 2014 by the DEAC, stands for Distance Education Accreditation Commission, which is a national accreditation. A lot of the institutions are like ourselves with distance. And you need to meet a lot of standards because in order to get accredited, all your courses needs to be evaluated, that they meet the standards. They need to see that you have all the procedures to accept the students, to serve the students, and to verify that they meet the standards. Then they check the learning outcomes. So it really checks every single element of your operation. It took us actually, from 2010 or 11 when we started until 2014, when we got initially accredited, which was huge thing for us. We had about 500 students when we had our initial accreditation. Now we have 153,000 10 years later. So It was a long road. While having the DAC, which is a great accreditation, we get a lot of push from our students, or requests from our students, to get regional accreditation as well, because in the US system there are national and there are regional. And regional, they are older, they are more traditional, and they are perceived by many as better accreditation. And, we're there not for ourselves, we're there for our students. And if the students want, we need to do it. One of the challenges that we had with our initial accreditation is that, for example, Canada do not accept our accreditation for master level. So there was a need for another accreditation. So for the last 5 years, we worked on another accreditation. And 2 weeks ago, we got it. It's WASC, stands for Western Accreditation Secondary Commission, which is a regional accreditation. And now we have the same accreditation as Stanford and Berkeley and UCLA. Wow. You can't get any higher academic accreditation in the US. This is a major milestone for us that actually puts us in line with the best universities in the world, which is important because, again, being online, well, I don't think that there is a single university in the US that do not offer at least one course online. Still, people are not 100% sure that that's the right thing and the real thing. So you need legitimacy and you need credibility, and that's exactly what the accreditation gives us. So, yeah.
Incredible. And that is just so incredible. But again, what it enabled, and I want to talk a little bit about the impact of this, because what it disenabled is, ability to serve 150 plus students from 200 countries, and, including, I think you have incredible stories of helping refugees. And can you share a couple of stories just so people understand the magnitude of this?
Thank you for asking, because it is important. The University of the People is for the people who have no other alternatives. We do not want to have the people who can get into Harvard or Stanford, Yale, and others. We want to open the gates for those who have no other opportunities. By definition, we have people in the US that are homeless, stay-home mom, immigrants. We have survivors of the genocide in Rwanda, the earthquake in Haiti, people who sell fruits on the streets. And so we're opening the gates to those who have nobody else is willing to accept them. Among them, we have refugees. We have more. As a university, we have more refugees than any university in the world. We have 19,000 refugees. We have 4,300 Afghan women who are studying, hiding at home, studying with us because they're not allowed to study under the Taliban rule. Moreover, what we just learned is that they start graduating. And 60% of our graduates in Afghanistan work remotely as programmers with international companies. So, it's amazing stories. And these are the people that we started the university for.
Incredible.
And we have, in 2012, we start witnessing tens of thousands of Syrian knocking on our doors, trying to study, but could not make it because of the language. The war in Syria and all the universities were closed, and they were knocking on our door. They couldn't make it. So we said, okay, let's develop a program in Arabic. So we develop a program in Arabic. Now we have we have 30,000 students studying in Arabic, and many of them are refugees. So we are there for these people. And actually our next project is to develop your people in Spanish, again, for Venezuelan refugees, because there are millions of them that do not have opportunities, and we can and we should open the gates to them. And that's what we do. Yeah.
Incredible. And I believe you also have programs in, people from Gaza and from you have people from all over, when they can't go anywhere else, they come to you.
We have students from 209 countries, you're right. We have students in Gaza. What we learn, and we are a year and a half after when the war started in October, we had 17 students in Gaza 9 of them are still studying even now. We had 11 professors from Gaza. The professors are volunteers, as you know. 5 of them are still teaching with us, which means that they are daily in the class. So we decided and we got scholarships for students from Gaza, and now we are enabling Gazan students to study with us again, because all the universities are closed and we are their opportunity to continue their studies. So we are, that's our mission, to open the gates. I would say another thing, we are tuition free. We are not free. We expect the students to pay $140 per each end of course assessment. So a full BA would cost $5,600 for as long as it takes the students. And we let the students actually up to 10 years to complete a bachelor degree, but they have to pay $140 by the end of each course. Those who cannot afford it, we offer them scholarships. So over half of the students pay nothing whatsoever in order to study with us, because this is our mission. Let's give them the chance, and that's what we do.
This is absolutely amazing. And if somebody's watching me on YouTube, I'm like literally crying here. But tell me for a second, Shai. Even to sponsor so many people, do you need to constantly go look for donations? Do you need to constantly how do you seriously? How do you run this operation? And what are some hard moments even for you? This mission can't stop, but donations sometimes are hard. What is it like for you?
So if you ask the two hardest thing for me is, first of all, to spread the word. Because even though, we have 150,000 students, and our students are amazing ambassadors to our mission, and they're really doing a lot online, most people who need us don't know that we exist. So how do you spread the word? And being tuition free means that we don't have a big budget
marketing,
to spread the word. Yeah, marketing budget. But when they come to study with it, and when they hear about us and they want to study, we need the money to make sure that we can take them. And this is a challenge. And it was challenged. Both things were challenged from day one. We cannot, we have 150,000 students. We are very proud of it, but the demand out there is way larger than that. But we can't take all of them. I'm very proud to have 4,300 Afghan women studying with us. Incredible. But we have over 20,000 applicants in Afghanistan, and we simply cannot accommodate all of them. So yes, I'm actually from day one raising donations to enable us. We are from almost, after very few years, we became financially sustainable, the operation. So we don't need donations in order to operate, but we do need the donations in order to get more students. So it goes for scholarships or for new programs, etc. And from day one, I'm raising the money. Coming from the for-profit world, I did not understand what fundraising is and actually how hard it is. And when I started the university, I said, well, it's such an amazing idea. The money will flow in. Obviously, we will never have any problem raising money. Well, it took me some time to realize that it doesn't really work this way. And raising money is a profession. And knowing how to build a philanthropic community is hard. So we're doing it, and I do it large part of my time, and we have now a great team that is working on it. But it is true that we are not doing as well as we should, and we don't raise as much as we should because, I mentioned scholarships, but if we had enough money, we can turn half of the university to operate with AI. And if we operate with AI, we can serve even more students. Right. So, but again, you need money for that. And so, there are challenges out there.
Wow, that's incredible. So, at the end, like I do want you to think, we still I have more questions, but I want you to think, what is our audience can help? Because we have people here from, some of the biggest companies in the world. We have people that are listening, that, I'm sure have connections and can, definitely spread the word. So let's think a little bit what we want our audience to help with. But definitely, like, I think that is probably the hardest thing. I see a lot of beautiful people in Leap Academy that have all these brilliant ideas of like a lot of impact, etc. But pulling it and making this happen, definitely at the magnitude that you did, but even just launching it, being able to get the first donations, that's not easy. And sustaining it is definitely, there is, a donation fatigue and people donate to 1,000 things, it's like, so that's not easy to maintain. First of all, how did you become sustainable also? Like, because I think that's key.
How to become sustainable? Well, so you touch a few amazing points, and I'll try to answer. Let's start with the audience. I think that we need help spreading the word, as I said, and any way that anyone can help us, either spread because they have a lot of followers, or they know others, or they know organization that can partner with us. All of it is more than welcome. Moreover, we are also working on a project in Africa. Can I talk about it for a minute?
Of course, let's go.
So the challenge in Africa is that in every single country in Africa, there aren't enough seats in the universities to accommodate the demand. So take Nigeria, it's the largest country, but still 10.5 million students graduate high school every year. 1.5 million out of them take and pass the university entrance exams, which means qualified for higher education. But there are seats available for 500,000. So by definition, 1 million qualified students will stay out. And what we're saying, use our model, because in online, you can take any number of students and there is no shortage of seats. So we are looking for a government in Africa to work together with us to solve the shortage of seats and to show the other countries that the solution is there, and to have actually to be like the cell phone did to the landline. Instead of having more and more lines, they just jump to cell phones. And the same with universities. Instead of building more and more and more physical universities, go online and you can serve everyone. So our project right now, we identify 7 countries where they are relatively politically stable and have strong international companies presence. And we want the companies to team up with us. And the idea is to work with the government and with the companies to identify what education the companies need in order to hire local people. We are going to offer this education to educate the people. And together, we are going to educate the people, offer them job, and show how we educate many people. So if your companies operate in Africa, and if you want to do good to Africa and to yourself there, because you will hire people, we are more than open to talk to you. So that's regarding, and obviously anyone who wants to help us sponsor any type of students that need help, sure, come on.
Coming over. Amazing.
Your other question was about sustainability.
Right.
And about how you continue doing it, even though it's getting hard sometimes. And so.
Right.
I believe from day one that any NGO should be sustainable try to be sustainable from its revenues rather than from donations. Because if you depend on donations, one day and you are gone. I mean, look at what happened right now. The government, Trump cutting a lot of, and quite a few NGOs will close down. Well, I felt that we should charge minimum from the students, from those who can pay it, and this amount should enable us be sustainable operationally, which means that if we don't get donations, maybe we won't be able to serve as many students, but we will continue working. So this is one. Now, your third question was about how do you continue doing it? And the answer there is actually, I think it's partially personality. I never give up. Unlike, the Energizer Bunny. But more than that, I guess that it's the belief in the mission and the belief that if you will continue doing, it will eventually work, and it does. So.
It's amazing that you don't let that fear take you down. But let me ask you also a different question. And one of the things that we noticed in Leap Academy, and again, we can't compare this. This is very much a for-profit. It's for a different set of it, education, etc. But what we noticed a little bit is that when people don't pay, they don't pay attention. So there's a lot of self-help book. There's a lot of things that, exist. There's YouTube channels. Like there's a lot of free education that people won't do anything. And then once they pay, suddenly their back is against the wall and it fuels them. It could be that it's just a different set of audience that just doesn't have as much starvation to content. But I would love to, did you ever feel like that actually because it's free, they're not as committed? Do you see any of that?
Yeah. Well, okay. It's a very good question because it's yes and no, and I'll explain.
Right.
First of all, if you compare our degree students, refugees are all free, totally free. They do better than the other students. So the fact that they don't pay does not mean that they are not serious. However, that's after they became degree seeking. When we started, and we evolved a long time, at the beginning we let everyone in, and we didn't even ask them for their English, which was really stupid because if you can't speak English, you can't study with us. But so we evolved and we put bars and we put actually. But one of the things that we did, we introduced 2 foundation courses. So when you come to us, as long as you speak English and you have a high school diploma, you are welcome to start. And when you start with us, we ask you to take 2 courses. It's 2 academic courses. One course is online strategies, which teach you how you study online, how to write an essay, etc. The second one is the field of your choice. And we only teach business administration, computer science, and health science undergraduate, as well as MBA, Master in Education, and Master in IT, MA level. So you come to us and we say, take 2 courses. See if you like it. See if you have the motivation. See if you like our pedagogy. If you have the discipline. If you have all this, continue. Show us that you meet our standards. You pass the courses. You get credit for them and continue with us. You don't pass the courses. Sorry, you can't continue with us. But we lose over half of the students in these 2 courses for the very reason that you mentioned, because a lot of students say, oh, it's tuition free. I'll come in and get a degree by mail. Or we tell the students, every single course that you take requires 20 hours a week. And the human nature is to say, well, 20 hours a week is for him. I can do it in an hour a week. Well, 1 hour goes by and you're gone. You can't do it in 1 hour a week. And then, it's the discipline of spending every night. You're sitting in front of the computer and you are by yourself. It's not that you sit with your peers.
Nobody's bossing you. Yeah.
So it's really hard. So a lot of people simply cannot make it. So it's a screening that only the serious students come. After they come and after they pass, we have amazing results and they continue and graduate. But yeah.
That's a beautiful story. Okay, it's super helpful. So I have to ask. So we have a lot of the listeners, again, they're like thinking, oh my God, like I have huge plans that I want to change either within the company that I'm in, or I want to create some big change and I want to do something with meaning and I want to do something that matters. What are some of the tips that you give somebody like this to say, like, what is it and how do I actually lift it off the ground? What are some of the skills? What are some of the mindset that you needed to develop to continue?
I think that you shouldn't start any project if you don't understand the subject matter or you have someone who understands it. Because if you want to produce a new car and you have no idea what it means to produce a car, most likely you're going to fail unless you have people around you that will help you. So this is one very important thing. Second, you need pretty much to know the process and plan for it. What it takes, what are the stages, how much money you need in order to do it. So you need to know all the details before you launch it. Right. I think that you must have experts on your side, unless you know it, experts on your side in every aspect. You know, I'm not a financial person. I will never be one. But I always had great financial people next to me to tell me, don't do that. You don't have the money to do it, or you need to do it this way or the other way. You need to think about what other parts you need that you don't have, such as marketing. Do you know how to market? And you need to know how much it will cost you to market, because otherwise it won't work. So I think that it takes a lot of learning before you go into it. Then I think that you need to try to test your product as soon as you can. Get feedback. All the time, get feedback, what you do. You know, when we started the university, we thought that we are going to develop our learning management system by ourselves. Even though I had a university and we never developed it by ourselves. You bought one, you rent one, actually. Mm-hmm. And it took me a few months that a friend of mine, who is actually understand much more than I am in technology and in universities technology, said, "You're crazy. You will never be able to make it this way because it's so costly. It's not your, right. That's not your business. You're
not your main thing."
Yeah. So to understand what you do and what you buy and what you rent and what are you focusing on. And last but not least, and probably the most important thing, is never giving up. I think that you should be ready to make mistakes. You can't succeed without making mistakes. But accept them and learn from them and change, even if it means, I think that I'll give you an example that actually with KIT. The concept of KIT was B2B, that we are going to test centers and convince them, tech test centers. Right. When you want certification, etc., you go and take the exams, and to convince the people who's coming there to get academic degree, which sounds great, except that the people who sell this product sell days in a center. They don't sell degrees. And this is a different product, which they did not know how to sell and they were not interested. So it was a totally failure. So pretty much the entire concept of that university collapsed. And then we said, okay, but there is another market, the private market. Let's go for the private market. And we switch 100%, 180%, degrees, the way we operate. And we went to a different market and it worked. So be open, see if it doesn't work, is there another way? Sometimes there are.
And that's the resilience.
Yeah.
And how are you as a leader, Shai, don't take that stress, if you will, from financial stress or, pivot need, etc. How do you not take it down on your team? Or how do you balance between involving the team and being all alone on everything? Like, how do you balance that?
Well, first of all, I take the stress on myself, not necessarily on my team. So, and I like being under stress. I have to admit, I like the tension. And I don't think that I'm the easiest person to work with. I want everything to be done yesterday. I'm really, really pushing hard and always deadlines and always, okay, why do you think it will take you a month? Why can't you do it in a week? And I'm always
Right.
pushing people to the limit, which I think makes it hard to work with me. On the other hand, I think that people appreciate, first of all, I don't do it for the sake of making
Right.
their life miserable. There is a reason for
Right.
that. And second, I'm the first person to accept mistakes. And I think that, and I'll give you an example from, again, history,
Yeah.
Kidun. We had a VP marketing, when we were three people. One of them was already VP marketing because I am a strong believer in marketing. And he was a kid like myself. And one day I see a truck coming to our office and download doggy bags, just like bags, thousands of them. And I said, did you order that? He said, yes. He said, why? We're a test prep company. And he didn't know why. I still don't remember. Probably he said something, but it wasn't good enough for me to remember what he said. But I said, he's an amazing VP marketing and he's doing amazing things. And he made a mistake. That's okay. We're human beings.
Right.
And you accept the mistakes. And I think that people appreciate it. So it goes both ways. So, yeah.
Right. I love that. I think we want everything yesterday. So, and I don't know if that's something that you can talk about. Are there any, special, folks that were kind of more, I would say, famous, or people that, our audience might recognize their name that actually finished the University of the People? Or is that something that you don't reveal?
So, wait, a person from University of the People? Or
people that finished the University of the People, or
our
got there.
graduates.
Yeah, your graduates.
Wow. We have, I won't say names because I wouldn't give any name without their permission, but I'll tell you a few stories.
Sure.
First of all, we had, it's a story of a young woman that at the age of 14 became homeless. At the age of 16, she was homeless with a kid, single mom with a kid. At the age of 18, single mom, homeless with two kids. And she said, my only way to get out of it is through education. So she went to a college, graduated after 4 years with tens of thousands of debt, and couldn't find a job. And she said, I'm not giving up. I'm going to master degree. And she came to us. And she did her MBA. And when I met her, she said, I'm now a manager at Amazon. I have my own home. I have my own pool. I have my vintage car. I'm the American dream. And it's all because of you people. So this is one story. Another story, which is actually, it goes to a different direction, but it's very important. I met one of our students who started studying. Also, he grew up, he's originally from a family who came from Mexico, and he grew up in a poor neighborhood, and he couldn't afford he graduated high school. Right. He couldn't afford going to college until he found us, started studying computer science with us, and after 9 months got a job with IBM while studying with us. And again, these are people that we help, even if they don't complete the degree. So we have hundreds of, thousands of stories like this. We have graduates who work with Amazon and Google and IBM and Microsoft and JP Morgan and World Bank.
Amazing.
Most of our students actually work while studying with us. The population, a lot of them are working adults, but 70% of them say that they got promotion while studying with us. So we are really giving them a better future. And it is important. When you help someone to get a better job and a better future, you don't help
It's
only
everything.
them. You help them, their families, their communities. And if it's a lot of them, it's their countries. And if many of them, it's the world. So, yeah.
I love that. And this is part of something that we share. Like for me, the biggest moments, and I love that you shared the stories, because I think at the end of the day, the biggest moments for me is that email, you changed my life, or that post on, LinkedIn. Like I wouldn't be here without, Ilana or Leap Academy or the coaches and I think this is what keeps you going, because even, it's still going to be a roller coaster, but it's that conviction and that belief in the mission that actually keeps you getting up back in the morning and, plowing through.
Exactly.
Right. No, I love these stories, Shai. What would be an advice that you would kind of tell your younger self, maybe, based on everything that you've seen? Is there something that you would wish you knew earlier on?
Um, it's interesting because I think that if I've started nonprofit earlier, I could have done more. However, the fact that I came there when I can afford doing that and I'm not depending on a salary or anyone to let me do that is a great benefit. So from that perspective, I feel that maybe I could have done more, but on the other hand, I'm very happy that I started it where I started. I think that I don't know. I, I feel that the world should appreciate philanthropy in general more. I hope the world would have been more philanthropic. I think that I would love more people to go into NGOs because the world needs NGOs. I think that I myself, I wish that I would be able to contribute to the realization how online is powerful. So more people will take the opportunity for their own benefit, obviously.
Right.
But I'm very happy with where I am, and I would just wish to continue doing what I do. So,
of course, and it sounds like you guys are just scratching the surface. Like you just got even better accredited now, and now let's go. Like the sky's the limit.
Yeah, we are just at the beginning. That's true.
Yeah.
I hope.
Amazing. Incredibly inspiring, Shai. Thank you so much for, first of all, everything that you're doing, but also for coming and sharing it with us. And just incredible to watch projects like this. And I hope our audience will, hey, if you heard this, if this makes you excited, go spread the word. That's the least we can do. And also, if you can contribute, if you have an organization that can contribute, let's hope. Like, I think this is just such a beautiful mission, and you're moving the needle on so many people that it literally makes the world a better place. So, we have a saying, it's not about what we make, it's what we make possible. And what you're making possible, Shai, is out of this world, and all of us listeners can contribute. So thank you, Shai.
Thank you for inviting me. It was a great conversation, and thanks for doing it.
More episodes that you're going to love are right around the corner, so definitely make sure to click the like button and subscribe to our channel. Also, who in your life should see this today? Do share this with them. This will inspire and help those you care about, and helps us continue to bring amazing guests. And I will see you there.